This podcast provides a platform for our guests to share their experiences and inspire our listeners to be brave and bold in pursuit of their dreams. As you listen, we invite you to explore how these concepts apply to your own story. You know what to do. Be great and be grateful. We're mic'd up with Mike DeChocho. Hey guys, we are back in action, and I'm bringing you an extra special episode today because I get to shine light on a friend and fellow musician from my hometown of Buffalo, New York. He's the front man of More Than Me, an original band who won Hard Rock Cafe's International Battle of the Bands, being named Ambassadors of Rock. They played main stage at the Hard Rock Calling Festival, opening for Sir Paul McCartney, Stevie Wonder, and Pearl Jam at Hyde Park. He's one half of the Doyle Brothers, who were callbacks on The X Factor. His solo project, RYNO, R-Y-N-O, which was inspired by his childhood nickname, had immediate success. His single, Glory, had reached over 900,000 streams on Spotify, and Stars in the Sky caught viral traction in Europe, with its video trending #1 in Denmark. I'm excited to bring you, as featured on Nickel City Noise and Music Magazine, the incredibly talented Ryan Jacob Doyle. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, man. I appreciate you having me.
I am out of breath, and that's it, folks. That's your episode right there. You'll
I know,
everything
right?
you need to know.
That was a mouthful,
Ryan,
right?
that's it. That was the quickest episode right there.
That was a very flattering introduction. I appreciate that.
I was afraid we were going to cut back to you, and you'd be like taking a nap because it was.
All right, I'm spent.
Dude, but I mean, you got a lot of cool stuff going on. I have a framework here with some questions for us to rock and roll through. A lot of people tuning in are going to know you from playing out in New York City and in Buffalo, where you have a lot of family and friends. But those that maybe they have been tuning into the show, checking out some of the entrepreneurs, I feel there's a lot of value you can bring them as well from your hustle and what you're doing through quarantine right now as a musician. A lot of people are hurting, and you have kind of kicked it in the throat and said, I'm not just going to sit here and do nothing. I'm going to create new content. So
Absolutely, man.
First question for you to really dive into your story is, when did this all begin? And do you remember the first time picking up a guitar and realizing that there was some magic there?
Wow. Okay. So I guess going back to day one, I'm the youngest of 4 boys, okay. Big family musicians. Dad is a vocal music teacher. He taught in Kenmore for many, many years, and he now teaches private lessons. And obviously, I was just talking to him yesterday about how much his even work, his retirement work is doing a lot of private lessons, and he works with local theaters. But he doesn't know how long it's going to be till he can do that again. So it's everybody's obviously just adjusting, changing, and evolving. Mom is a wonderful singer and an artist, and all of my brothers are creative and writers, and just have the music bug. We all express it in our own way, and we all express it with a very stubborn sense of judgment, but we all love it, and it was just kind of second nature growing up. So day one really just was as far back as I can remember, really. Driving in the car, hearing my dad singing, like me kind of singing la la la's in harmony. Like I think like he almost was, like we kind of like had that discovery at an early age. So it's
you have
just
some
always
fond memories driving with your dad, remembering that singing together. And
kind of. Like that's a funny memory that I was actually thinking of not that long ago. I remember the song "Going to the Chapel and we're gonna get mad." That song, and I remember like "Going to the Chapel and we're," like singing harmony, like when I was real young, like, and my dad looking over at me, and like remember a moment like of that nature. But I mean, we were always doing. My dad is an educator, and he always made a very big deal out of it. Like, when it was vacation time, we were doing family vacations. We were like piling up in the van, and we were driving, whether it was Disney or, we go down to Myrtle Beach every Easter, as long as I can remember. This is the first Easter I haven't been there pretty much in my memory. So,
wow.
So it's, it's a lot of just quality family time like that, where we had time to just, I think, train our ears. That sounds kind of weird, but like
it's a 14-hour car ride from Buffalo to Myrtle Beach. I've done it. So if you guys are doing 14 hours together, that's a lot of albums you can sing together.
We've done it a lot of times. The funny part is that, like, well, I guess not funny. The cool part about, listening to albums with the family on long drives, it was like such a wide, eclectic collection. Like dad's classically trained, really like, raised us on more classical music and theater, which is near and dear to my heart. I love, my time of spending in New York, because it's so close to, to Broadway, and being able to like see new developing shows and stuff like that. So it's such a hobby of mine. Mom is actually more of like the classic rock, not classic rock, but, more like classic rock and roll albums, like, the Beach Boys and the Beatles records, like those were coming from Mom's collection. And then each brother is individually very diverse. And like, it's cool because I feel like, being the youngest, you just kind of get stomped on most of the time, but like, I just kind of plucked from different like records on each of my brother's collections, and like everything, from like, all over the map, Sting to the Clash, to my, brother Brad loved the hair bands. And then like Todd was more into hip hop, and it's like kind of like meshing this all together has created this, eclectic sense of music that I've just grown to love. So
I think that's awesome. I actually had it wrong. I thought you were the older brother of you and Todd, which Todd is the other half of the Doyle
Everybody
brothers.
Says that.
Yeah. I don't mean that as other than just an honest observation, but I also hilarious. Am the youngest of three, and our sister's the oldest, and then my brother is the middle child, and I'm the baby. And I totally know that feeling of you kind of look and you learn. And a lot of the great music I listen to is thanks to my brother showing me some albums like the Chili Peppers and Weezer, two of our favorite bands. And it's thanks to him kind of showing it to me when I was like 8 years old, listening to Weezer Blue. And I know that's
so influential, man. Like literally, I was probably the same age when my oldest brother brought Weezer Blue home. He brought Weezer Blue home from college, I want to say. Like, I think that was about the age that he was at Fredonia, and he came home with like a couple of records that were so influential to me now, and still to this day. Like, Weezer Blue, Clash London Calling. Honestly, like one that I've just been revisiting recently because I've been doing my Monday cover series, and I revisited 10 Sumner Tales. Sting, like, he brought the Fleece home. Like he brought the box set home, and for me it was like, I mean, that was like super influential, and that kind of like started my path into like doing a bit more of a deep dive, like listening to like kind of this punkish white boy reggae thing that like the bands like the Clash and like the Police were doing, kind of led me to the trail of finding like bands like Sublime, which were like super influential to me, like at a young age as well. So it's cool how like just listening in the evolution from from these records that our brothers raised us on, like, but Weezer Blue is like, is one of those Bibles to me that just like, as I told you when we were talking the other day, I was like, it's so hard, man. If I hear My Name Is Jonas, I just want to like go into every single song, like one after the other, and like just play the entire album top to bottom. It's like
such a classic opener. Funny story,
like
too.
The album in general, you just like want to go from one to the other. It's amazing. I love it.
Yeah, it's one of those that like the whole thing, and you can experience the whole Weezer Blue album in like 28 minutes. I want to say too, it's crazy.
I know.
It's so good. I think it's 10 songs, right? What I want to tell you, quick side note is, I have a fond memory of listening to Weezer Blue over and over again on a long road trip. Guess where I was going?
You're not going on to Myrtle Beach?
Myrtle Beach, yeah.
I love it, man. So that really has been like a home away from home for my family. Like we go to Garden City, which Biggie and Ro, your sister and brother-in-law, actually came and visited us when they were down there last 2 years ago, I think, at Easter.
So cool.
Like my family's been going there literally as long as I can remember. Easters have always been down there. It was so like, it was obviously it was just a very strange and challenging time for all of us over the last couple of months as we continue to still go through this, this pandemic. And, but I was like thinking, I was home for Easter, I was home for Dingus Day. And it's, I'm grateful to be with family and just be safe. Because New York is such a scary, place right now. And it's been really challenging for so many friends and family, folks that I love that are there. But it's like, it was so like, I was like, I don't remember ever being in Buffalo for Dingus Day. And like, the cool part is that like, Buffalo is known for having this legendary Dingus Day. So I was like, it was bittersweet because like, I wanted to like partake in like, Buffalo Dingus Day, but we have to be safe and we have to be smart. So
wasn't meant to be.
I know, maybe next year, we'll see, but we'll probably hope, fingers crossed, we'll actually be back down to the beach next year.
Playing out. Yeah. Hey, shout out to your brother Todd. As a percussionist and drummer myself, I always appreciate watching you guys because he is a beast on the box. He rocks the cajon. Yeah,
such a beast.
People don't know. Like
ear.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just gonna say, like, talk about ear training because we were talking about just like training your ears from a young age. He's such an animal, like as far as like the sense of just like he hears something and he just recreates it. He's always been like that. He never even, he never really studied drums. Like he's like gone back and challenged himself with obviously learning rudiments, which is like starting at level 2 or 3 and then going to stage. Because as you know, as a drummer, it's like you start by learning your rudiments and your the paradiddles, and you just go from there. And to get to stage, it's like there's like a big leap, and like he just kind of went with his natural feel. He's just such an ear guy. So like the fact that like I know a lot of drummer friends that are just always in awe with like his ability to create. He's like, this is what it's got to sound like, and he does it just by hearing it. It's so crazy, and he does it
there's something internal,
in such an unorthodox fashion.
Yeah, there's definitely something.
Massive shout out to him. He sees like 10 or 12 feet the other way. He's taking care of his two kiddos. So
yeah, he's got a grown family. Shout out to Todd. You guys can check out the Doyle Brothers. They are at the Doyle Bros, BROS. So at the Doyle Bros on Instagram. And thedoylebrothers.com is their new website that's actually going to be launching pretty soon. You can check them out on Facebook. They're all over the place. Really cool thing they're doing. If you're listening to this full interview right now, you can go back and watch the replay for Nickel City Noise episode 2. You may recognize a little bit of a guest appearance on the show. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah, buddy.
What I want to do is talk a little bit more about what you and your brother have created together. And then also, let's go there. Like from a musical standpoint, who do you guys, we talked a little bit of a few artists that came up, but who do you admire the most and say was like some key influences into your early sound?
As far as my bro and I kind of in the setup that we perform as the Doyle Brothers, it's interesting because like, I think there's like a charm to the way that everything is very stripped down. There's a unique charm to it where it kind of channels these old, 50s and 60s groups. Like, we always get like, the Everly Brothers, because especially, and we kind of channeled that too with like, when we were creating the project as more than just like, hey, like let's pick up an extra gig here, like before we moved down to New York, we were like, we could set up in the corner here and, pay our rent. And we were kind of like figuring all this out and putting the operation together. We started, there's a local promoter who's a legend. His name is Jerry Myers. He's been a friend since very, very long time. He's a record promoter from back in the day who's got, you want to talk stories? Like we'll go out for a drink one night with Jerry and you'll be in awe with his amazing stories. We have so much fun. Jerry kind of encouraged, us to just pay attention to the Great American Songbook. And, there's just limitless amount of the legendary songs that people have done their versions of, but I mean it's as doing anything in a pop band or rock band, whatever it is, yes, you want to do something on your own and make it your own, but it's not about like necessarily reinventing the wheel, but spinning it a little differently. And like we realize like from the get-go with what we're doing, it's like Todd's not the first guy to ever play cajon drum. I'm not the first guy to ever, play guitar and sing in harmony with his brother. It's like we just, we try to do it a little differently. And that's always been our approach. Our approach has always just been like, all right, how are we going to spin this just a hair differently than everybody else? Everyone and their mother's doing live streams right now. We get it. Like, and you know what? I love that because that's our community and our community sharing, like shedding and half an hour of joy, however long they're streaming for, they're shedding like some joy, and that's therapeutic for them, but it's also like really great. People like, just these comments that like people are sending me, like, friends will shoot me a text, caught a bit of the live stream, like, and just like how sincere the message is about like, we're sharing joy with them. Yes, like it's like everyone's tagging their PayPals and their Venmos and everything like that because the reality is we're all out of work. But there's people that are in way rougher shape. It's like, it's such an uncertain time, but like, I feel like, for us to be able to do that and shed a little bit of joy and like, and bring an hour of music to these, these people's living rooms, I think it's just like such a cool thing. And when we started getting into it, we were like, okay, how are we going to do this just a hair differently than everybody else? And that's kind of how we start every single one of our productive conversations. It's like, cool, all right, so here's this. How are we going to do it a bit differently? And like that's just been the approach since we were a high school rock band. Like I'll always like use this as an example, but we were 17, 18, 19 years old, driving around the East Coast in a tour van that was labeled in Western New York companies. Mm-hmm. It was labeled in Mighty Taco logos. It was labeled in Anderson's Frozen Custard logos. It was labeled in like all these different companies, and like that was our record label. Our record label was literally creating our own way because we're talking we're 15 coming up on 20 years ago at this point. We're like, but we always have had to be thinking outside the box.
Did that actually fund your tour essentially? Like, hey, Anderson's and Mighty, we're going to throw your logo.
It was all going to the greater good. It was always, I think we always had kind of a plan as far as like, okay, we're going to cover the van with local sponsors. And I actually think the van was imaginary at first. I don't think we actually had the van. I think we drew it up and we're like, this is what it's going to be. We're going to get decals put on the side. And then like once we actually got a couple sponsors, I think we then got the physical van. And the first van, Casper, we called her, was hilarious. Like the taco van was unreal. It was just like my cousin, Todd's cousin, Danny, who like owned a workshop at the time. And he helped us like kind of customize it. It was like sort of like a Pimp My Ride, but it was like way not that. Like we had like our budget was like $400, whereas on Pimp My Ride it's like 40 grand.
40 grand.
So like we had like this hilarious like just makeshift little like Pimp My Ride. But we've always had the mentality of just trying to be a little outside the box, and I feel like and that's what we're really like. That's how we're trying to dive into this streaming series, and it's I know everybody's doing it, and I love seeing it. I love seeing that everybody's partnering with companies and just using different platforms and cross promoting. Like that's what we have to do. I mean, like just because we're sharing joy with people, and we just want the biggest amount of reach as possible. And exactly the way that we're working with you, we want to be able to share. We want to share a segment of Mic'd Up, so people are like not just logging on, listening to some fun music, but also like, yeah, I'm gonna follow that dude's podcast. He's fun, like that's the exact thing, man. Like, and like us crossing our world, and like just like you're doing with everybody else, man. It's like that really is. I mean, at least that's been our mode since day one.
Yeah, I'm going to throw you some kudos, and I appreciate you mentioning the show as well. But two things: if you haven't heard Doyle Brothers or RYNO, I'm gonna play some of that at the end here, so people can tune in.
Cool, man.
I think you need to hear it to experience it. But the kudos I want to throw you is that you mentioned it, and I want to get back to it real quick. Yeah, you and your brother play out. You guys harmonize. He plays the cajon, which people call the box. You play awesome rhythm and lead guitar, and you guys have a uniqueness about you. But like you said, other people have done it before. You still made it your own thing. And I think what really translates, and I've been out to see you 2 or 3 times at least, is the there's this factor of like to describe the Doyle Brothers to anyone who hasn't heard it, it's kind of like a beachy, fun, Sublime Weezer meets Maroon 5, and then some classical elements like the Everly Brothers, some everywhere in between. Yeah, it's all over, and they do a phenomenal job covering. And if you're a musician watching this, you know what I'm talking about. When there's a difference between covering it to a T, which absolutely there's respect for someone who can cover a song and play it note for note and sound very similar to the original artist. And then there's also when you go out and you're having a drink and you're hanging out with some friends, you want to hear kind of just like this music that makes you feel good. The Doyle Brothers do that, and then they'll play like a Sting song, and you'd recognize it because they're hitting it. Every note's there, but it's like in a version with a guitar and a cajon that it's kind of a stripped down version of it, but it has so much life to it. You guys do an awesome job of not making it sound too simplified, but it's not too busy and roomy where like it's not stuffy. So I think that's a magical element of the Doyle Brothers that comes to 2 talented guys. I had another follow-up question way earlier in the show. 4 brothers, you're the youngest of 4. Todd's also a talented musician. Are your other 2 brothers musically talented as well? And do you guys all kind of keep in touch?
Oh, very much so. So Dave is the oldest, Brad, and then Todd, and then myself. Dave, I feel like, is a very, very talented writer. I've always looked up to him as a lyricist. He's a fantastic lyricist. And I continue to try to like collaborate and create with him just because he's such a creative dude and really talented guy. Brad, I feel like was the force of drive behind like really giving music like, like we grew up with mom and dad being very supportive, and like I'm very, very grateful for that. But I'm mostly grateful for the fact that they were supportive, but they weren't stage parents. They didn't like shove us in the door when we were reluctant to be there. They didn't, they didn't say you have to do this, you have to do this. It was never that. It was never that. In fact, like one thing that I almost wish I would have gotten a swift kick in the ass a little bit harder on was like was piano lessons. Like my mom and dad were very encouraging to it. They were very encouraging to Todd and I. We kind of like, we packed off like in twos because of the age difference. Dave and Brad were a little closer in age. They shared a room when, they were younger, and then Todd and I did as well. We're all very close, and we all have a very like unique relationship individually.
Yeah.
We're like oddly, like we're very close. Like we all fight a lot, but like we're like a really tight knit family, which is really special, especially like this age in life, being in your 30s and like not having a feud that, with the family that, is causing nobody to talk or whatever, I'm really grateful for that. But it's cool because again, everybody sort of like had their different dynamic. And I feel like as the youngest one, I was able to kind of just like observe and watch, and as you can kind of relate with each other. But it's like Brad was the one that literally was, I'm starting a rock band, I'm moving to Hollywood, and I'm going to give this a shot. And he's always been so like he has such a driven personality. Everything about him is like, this is the goal, like, and here's A, B, and C, how we're going to accomplish it. And he's very like just driven and just like focused with that. And I feel like that has like really resonated with me to some extent. I'm not as disciplined as him, but I get that. Like I get like it's, I feel like there's moments where like when it comes to music, we rattled off a dozen projects that I'm working. It's like a little bit of a workaholic in that sense. Like, I mean, but I feel like Brad's drive kind of made that a possible. Todd, very much, I realized like him and I fight every day because we're close. We've worked together for years. We've toured together for years. So we bicker and bark at each other every single day. I'm grateful and thankful that him and his wife and children have allowed me to stay here through this pandemic, which has been, again, looking at a little light in the, a little bit of joy in the chaos and just all this mayhem. It's been really special to be able to spend that time with my niece and nephew too, which has been pretty awesome. So, but Todd and Brad have a little bit more of that, like hard driven, like this is how it's got to be done. And this is how we're going to do it. They've got that edge on them. And they also were more into like heavier music. They're also like both into a little bit more like harder rock. Todd actually took quite a bit to like, he, as he'll refer to as the only era of hip hop, because he's a hip hop purist, but like, so I kind of like got a little bit of introduction to like an earlier stage of hip hop as well, like from him as well. Again, kind of taking, plucking from each of their, the feels and sounds, but regardless, not to go off too far on a tangent here, but yes, like everyone individual, we all are very tight and we all have our own relationship together, which is very, which is a really cool thing.
No, I think that's special and it's cool. I mean, having that's something that anyone listening right now or watching could learn from. That can be business. It could be the people in your office. You could take and learn things. You can see maybe what not to do. Again, same thing with a sibling. Maybe they got in trouble and you learn that as a kid or whatever.
Todd never got in trouble, and I never.
Todd never did anything wrong ever in his life.
Todd just blew through all the gates for me. Like he just like he got grounded.
Parents were on the ground. They were beat down by the time
they were beat down, and then like all I had to do was kind of cruise by, and if I cruised by, I was all right. But like he gave them a run for their money.
That's hilarious.
Because I say this like with my volume down here because he's in another room. His daughter is exactly the same. She's going to give him that exact run for his money.
Around, man.
My mom and dad just like sit back and enjoy because they see it.
Yeah. grandparents are great. They can take the grandkids for, for an hour for dinner, for overnight, and then they can go, okay, it's time to go back home now.
Okay. Well, that's sort of my uncle life as well. Like,
Yeah.
I'll jump on the trampoline with her for an hour until she's like all crazy and everything. Then I'm like, okay, peace out. I got to do a podcast.
I'm out of here. Yeah. Man, I want to stay in the Doyle Brothers a little bit longer, and then we're going to talk about more than me and RYNO as well.
Yeah, buddy.
But hanging on the Doyle Brothers here. So I'm on record as I'm actually not a big fan of talent shows. I've played in many. I've gotten to further rounds in a few. This may sound kind of like a hippie statement here, but I don't feel music or art is in general should be designed as like a talent contest. That being said, which isn't there like a Seinfeld episode about that say that being said,
yep.
I would like to acknowledge the amazing opportunity that X Factor provided you guys or granted you. Tell us about that experience of being called back on the show. You had judges observing you live. Tell us about that whole moment.
So full disclosure, I don't disagree with you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't totally disagree. I don't disagree with that at all. I see different sides of the spectrum. When I say I don't disagree, I'm in the sense of like, I don't particularly agree with the formula.
Mm-hmm.
My brother is very much more so like you. It's not that he disagrees with it. He hates it. he hates it, like genuinely hates it. He thinks it's everything that's wrong with the industry. And in ways, I understand that. I understand why you would say that as well.
That being said,
I just feel like I've wrestled with this a lot, man.
Dude, it's a huge opportunity. That's why I wanted to say it that way. You got this opportunity. So share what it was like actually being on the show for the first time and like what happened off camera that maybe people didn't get to experience.
So I'm like, again, like just to kind of summarize that, I mean, like at the end of the day, spending the last 10 years in New York City,
mm-hmm.
there are more talented people on the block I live than I could ever imagine. You know what I mean? And it's like, there's so many talented people out there. There's so many talented people here in Buffalo. It's unreal, the talent.
Mm-hmm.
I was literally just watching an Instagram story yesterday, and like, I heard, I'm gonna forget his name. But one of my friends posted a story where they were like, and there was a couple guys who set up like under a pavilion and everybody was social distancing and they just started playing. And I was like, I hit my friend up, I was like, who is that? And she told me his name. I think it was Josh something. I gotta double check, but local guy. And I was like, damn, that kid's got some range. Like, I never heard him sing. Like, I don't know who the kid was, but I'm like, there's so much talent even just here in the city of Buffalo.
Yeah.
So to be in New York and like being in this like sea of talent, of people who have got a story from their hometown that they're trying to like, run after. And like, I get it. Going after every and any opportunity you can is all I can ever come back to. And that really is just like, it'll open a door that will lead you to somewhere else. Yes, the contract's awful. The contract is horrific. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare, frankly. I mean, like, but I feel the people that go into those opportunities that are savvy enough to make the most of the opportunity and to make the most of the platform. It's like, sure, she's one of many, 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 but Kelly Clarkson has a talk show now.
Mm-hmm.
She's also like goes to press and like does not like shy around the fact that she's like, the songwriters that write my songs get the credit, I don't. She realizes that she's a personality. She's like the platform of her personality and her talent is, like she's taken, and granted they've crafted that she was American Idol 1 and that was a billion years ago. So like, but I'm just saying, like, I feel like I've known people that have made it to the finals of these shows. I've gone far enough into these talent shows that I understand the gist of like what it is. It's obviously like, what are they looking for at the moment? Like what are they have to fill all the positions. Like they can only have so many like Blue-Eyed Soul, type of like acts. And, they're casting a television show at the end of the day. So like it's not like all like, oh, like
it needs viewership so it can sell.
They need viewership. They need a story. Yeah. They need a story. And frankly, I and I try not to overanalyze it because it's like, it was a tough thing because like we had this, opportunity that we went after because I still stand with the fact that you have to explore every and any opportunity to get your feet on the ground. And I just
Yeah, it's a great opportunity.
It's a tough reality.
Whether it's a band, it could be a magician doing magic tricks, whatever it is. Like, and then as a viewer, like my parents love watching America's Got Talent. My dad always is like he doesn't have a smartphone, so I get the text from my mom like, America's Got Talent's on. I'm like, Mom, I can watch it anytime I want. I'll just stream it tomorrow at breakfast time. But thank you for letting me know that there's some cool magic trick going on.
They're just keeping you in the loop. They love you.
That there's these different acts are getting viewership. They're having a platform to shine. I think that's cool. But again, it's like, the person who doesn't win, like you guys moved on, did not win that contest, right? We're going to get to one that you did.
No, and I feel like, it's like, it's hard because I feel like it's something that you probably, in my case, I of course, just like everything you overanalyze, but the hard part is that like, I'm like really grateful that I come from like a really supportive family, and like I have like there's really like so much more positivity in my life than negative, and I have to focus on that. And I did not shy around that when it came to interviews, and like they really did a lot of extensive interviewing with us because it felt like they were trying to pull out drama. Sure, you could pick apart the drama with my brother and I because we fight every day, and they kind of they definitely plucked into that a bit, and they loved that. I again, without overanalyzing, I think the experience was like really learning for me. I actually did. I enjoyed it, whereas my brother hated it. But being open-minded with each other and trying to like, let each other grab the bull by the horns, depending on whoever's passionate about whatever it is. Like he's passionate about like writing the set list at the shows, and I'm just like, let's kind of go with the flow and see like what the vibe is. And somebody wants to have chili peppers, let's go chili peppers. But for this particular thing, like going after like X Factor or Voice or whatever, like whatever the audition is that we were going after, he very much let me grab the bull by the horns because it was something that I just kind of said it doesn't make sense to not go for it.
It's really cool though. People could learn from the fact that like it prepared you in a way where you were being, you're under scrutiny and they were trying to get some drama out of you. You also were doing a ton of interviews. So you learned some skills on how to handle that, the press of it. So again, I want to be on record, making sure I do shine light on the positives that come out of being in that opportunity. It most likely gave you some, you probably feel more well-versed if a camera's thrown in your face now because of that experience than if you were sheltered, maybe just stayed in your corner of Buffalo or whatever. And then all of a sudden you have this moment hit you and maybe you're not prepared for it. So that's the good. I want to stay on talent shows. One more question here. And I talked about it at the beginning of the show. This is so cool. So I'd like to give you a proper congratulations, if I haven't already, on winning Hard Rock Cafe's International Battle of the Bands. International, folks, not just in one state or one country. International. Tell us, how is that set up? What was the system behind it? Was it like a video submission, or was it voting from your fans? What was the format?
It was. So Hard Rock International was throwing a battle of bands called the Ambassadors of Rock. This was 2010, and actually we're coming up on 10 years ago. Oh my gosh. 10 years ago was actually the festival that we played 10 years ago in June here. So we're trying to do something special with our network, with More Than Me, the MTM family. We're going to try to do something just to celebrate that 10 years. But so it was an international battle of the bands. Most to all, if I'm not mistaken, all the locations around worldwide had a act that did a local battle of the bands. And then from the local battle of the bands judges, they put one band up as the store representative, as that, location's representative. And then from there, it turned into, there was a panel of judges like Lil Steven from, Springsteen, he was like Van Zandt, he was part of like the judge panel, a bunch of other names like, Steve Van Zandt, he was like, oh yeah, totally, yeah, I'm like Springsteen in this panel.
That's
he was on the board, and like there was a bunch of other like industry names that plucked like 20 bands, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And then from there it just turned into like no holds barred, like get everyone and their mother to vote.
Sure.
And we actually won the voting contest worldwide, and
it's amazing.
All because of Western New York, all because of Buffalo. I mean, like
Buffalo
like
shows
everyone
up when it comes to a contest.
I mean, it was no joke. Seriously, like every news station, every radio station, like it didn't matter if we matched the format of your station or not. 103 was actually the direct sponsor with Hard Rock. So a gang of the guys from 103 came along with us. Like Bull was at 103 at the time, and he came along with us, and he's still a close buddy. Josh Potter, when Josh Potter, like, who's blowing up right now. It's so fun to see him as a Buffalo comedian blowing up right now. He came along with us, and a few of the other guys from Eddie Wu came along from the Edge. So we had like a crew from Buffalo that kind of came with us, and it was a really fun way to celebrate. And we had a gang of friends that, of course, showed up too, like flew all the way to London to see this festival. It was wild. So we, again,
that's one of the most recognized stages.
Oh, dude, I mean, it was unreal, man. I got to spend a lot of last year in London with my solo project. I've been touring over in the UK and in Europe quite a bit, and I just going through that park now, like after years after, I'm just like always in awe. It's just so it's a beautiful place, but I'll always have that that fuzzy memory, So that whole contest. Yeah, that was with More Than Me. Yeah, totally. So that was like our high school band that we drove the taco van all over the East Coast, a zillion times, breaking down in every corner of the country. Just lifelong memories up the wazoo with those guys. And we continue to make them. We continue to write and record music, which is silly, but it's amazing in so many ways. Like I love it so much. It's so much fun.
I remember reading, I want to say it was like late 2019, maybe December. Did you guys reform for a charity show and then, share that experience? Did that happen? And then do you have any new More Than Me material? Because I know there's a lot of people tuning in that want to hear that. So
we do. The funny part is that we never really broke up. We just we defunct like a lot of high school bands do. Like, we were definitely like more than a high school band. I say high school band because we formed when we were all in high school together. I went to high school with Joey Nicastro, and my dad teaching in Kenmore, he taught Rizzo, our bass player. Okay. So Todd, me and myself, Todd and Joey, like we all went to school in Williamsville North, and Riz was over in Kenny's, but we never really broke up. We just kind of defunct, and for no other reason other than like we just didn't know what to do next. Mm-hmm. We signed with the manager in New York, and it was just like we're spinning our wheels. I was, trying to I literally I moved to New York. I moved to New York the month that I moved to New York 10 years ago, April. So it was literally like 2010, like April 2010. We were in like the second round of this contest, and I'm like moving my stuff down to New York, down to Brooklyn. And because honestly, I just we were at a point where we had been a band already for 10 years, and we had been a band since we were in high school together, like in freshmen, sophomores, whatever we were in high school. Or I think the group of four of us was like my senior year, junior year, like we actually formed with our group of four. But at that point, we've been a band for 10 years. We've been touring nonstop. We put hundreds of thousands of miles in our tour van that was falling apart. We didn't know what to do next. So I just kind of went down to New York for about 2 years before I moved, banging on every door, just saying, hey, we got a cool rock band, pay attention to us, and I just kept on doing that for 2 years straight until I got a pretty promising management team that was like, yeah, you guys are pretty cool. Let me, and right around the same time that happened, we won the contest. So I'm moving to New York. So it was confusing, but I also knew at that point, I was like, I want to do this with my life, no matter what.
Was that kind of a moment of validity for you? Like, hey, we don't just think we're pretty darn good. Like there's a lot of things going on. Again, it's not a conceited cockiness kind of thing.
No,
it's
you have to know.
More like that affirmation that all the hard work Todd and I are playing. We're playing all these, open mics and everything else. I know you guys are doing. Every time they said, "Would you like to play?" The answer was what? Yes, absolutely. Yeah. When and where. So you've done that. You grinded it out 10 years with More Than Me before this opportunity to be in the contest. Mm-hmm. Then you win it. You're moving to New York. Was that kind of like a affirmation when you won that contest?
I don't like to feel like we deserve anything, because again,
that's great.
Living in New York, there's so many talented people on the block. Living in Buffalo, there's so many talented people on the block. You have to hustle your balls off, partner. There's no doubt there, but I don't like to feel like, we deserve we deserve this. It's no, we have to hustle just as hard as we did on day one, starting at this point. And, as I said, it was a confusing time because I was again, really taking to heart, like going with my heart and realizing that I want music to be my life. Whereas, you know, like maybe it was a hobby, more of a hobby to some of the other guys. I mean, music is our life, no matter what. You know, it's like, and the other boys are like obviously are very involved. So it's like it was just a confusing moment, but ultimately, like, you know, Todd and I had been, you know, after in New York for a long time. Todd just had his second kid, so he wanted to move back to Buffalo to be closer to mom and dad and like be closer to the family. Totally understandable, but it's like, I don't know, man. Like that's a really tough thing because I feel like, yes, it was like a moment to wave the flag. And yes, I do feel like the band was a strong band. I feel like we had really fun music and we have fun music. And as I said, it's fun because we never really stopped. We never broke up. We never like, we're still friends. And like we did, you know, we're all buddies, obviously. Like, you know, I link up with Nick Castro, even since we've been in quarantine. Nick Castro and I and our buddy Matt, we've been remotely writing music. Like him and I, Joey and I will write until we're old and gray together. And like, I love that. And I'll always just enjoy that. Since we're in high school, we've always just been like, hey man, check this idea out. We, since a young age, like he and I, we dropped that kind of vulnerability, like that, you know, that insecurity blanket. And like, we just kind of show each other ideas, whether it's crappy ideas or not. It's like, you know, we've always had that. And that's like a really hard dynamic to have with anyone. It's like it's really vulnerable. So like him and I, since a really young age, we've shown each other a zillion songs. So it's like, we continue to do that now, which I love. And yes, like we actually spent last winter working on a new More Than Me batch of songs. We started putting out some singles. We trickled them out. We've got some stuff that is coming up in the very near future here that we're going to try to start, you know, continue sharing music, just because I don't know. I love that project. It'll always just be a fun, nostalgic thing. But also I feel like this music that we're writing now is like a different perspective. And it's like, it's really cool, man. Like it's just like realizing that it's like, there's so much more to the importance than getting a record deal and getting, you know, being on the cover of Spin. Like there's so much more importance. Like the fact that like we cultivated a culture over the last 20 years of our lives. Like, sure.
Is that what the name actually reflects on, More Than Me? It's not about you.
You know what? The funny part is the story with that song, with the name is that, I grew up on, you know, the Dave Matthews, John Mayers, and the Jason Mrazes out there. Like, and I love those artists, but I didn't want to name the project Ryan Doyle. So even with my own solo project, I didn't want to name it Ryan Doyle. I just, for some reason, like I just feel like there's like, we grew up with theater, and like, I feel like it needs to be like, it's like I feel like it needs to be like a little bit more of a presentation. It needs to be a little bit, and like I love the you know, the production aspect of like putting on a performance. You know, you play these songs that you honestly write and honestly love. You have to deliver them so they resonate with masses. So and you need to perform them, whether it's for 20 people or 20,000 people. You need it to resonate with those people, and putting on, you know, that performance is really important. So like I've always had an appreciation for that. So More Than Me actually came from the fact that it was like I didn't want it to be called Ryan Doyle. It's kind of a funny track, and like like the old drummer had come up with the concept of More Like Me, and I liked that. It was kind of cool, but you know, people kind of wonder where that came from, but it was you know, it was a funny route to get in there.
That resonates for sure. I think people can appreciate it. And again, it's like you're putting on a show. You're it's an entertainment, right? People are coming to see you.
Absolutely.
So if it's just like, you know, and there's nothing wrong with the solo artists that they're
I love that. And like, a lot of my favorite artists.
Yeah, absolutely. But that being said, it's like when you're with your band of brothers, you come out, it's like you have this, you know, you're delivering. You don't have to necessarily put the face paint on like Kiss did and put on a production like that, but it's like you do that kind of internally when you come out. Like you're in a different level, and and
you suit whatever the genres, whatever the feel, the vibe of the band. The vibe of the band we're a group of goofballs who like to party, like we were Motley Crue, but we were playing in a pop band. Like we thought we could party way harder than we could, and like, you know, we went and partied every frat party on the East Coast for a couple of years, and we just I don't know. It's
you're
funny.
Still here to talk about it, man. Hey, at the top of the show, we talked about a lot of your incredible moments and highlights. multiple projects, if you had to reflect back and say, man, that was my favorite, right? I know it's hard to put that and categorize it, but just something that maybe it pops in your head quite a bit if you're just meditating. Is there a moment?
It's a moment in general, or like throughout all my
It could be anything. It could be a moment in life, whether it's music or just something that is like just hits you.
I think there will always be that moment of walking on stage in Hyde Park. I mean that is such a moment that influenced so much of how I've run with my life.
How many people were in the audience at that for your performance? Ballpark.
Somewhere in the 50 or 60,000. So like three Darien Lakes full. Because Darien Lake is just under 20,000. So like I look at that in perspective, like when Todd and I play like the VIP parties at Darien each summer, and I always look at it like when it's sold out crowd, I'm like, man, 3 times these. Like it's wild to even think about that. That moment, I think will always be a very important one, and obviously fresh in my mind from talking. But it's there's a lot of those moments that I'm really grateful for, and like I honestly feel like a mentality that I've had to really learn how to celebrate too is that it's not just about those moments. I have to be able to take a deep breath and celebrate each little victory. That's really important, I think, because it's so easy to get bummed out when you don't get the opening spot on that bill, or when you don't, it's so easy to get down and in your own head in this field. And it probably relates in a lot of fields. I mean, I can only imagine, but so when you play a really good show to 30 or 40 people and they just and you brought them joy, you have to celebrate that almost like you are jumping on stage in Hyde Park with Paul McCartney. It's not, sure. I mean, it's a different feeling, but every experience is going to have that different feeling. But I feel like if we can do that, if we can share joy with, whether it's 30 or 40 people or 300 or 400 people, or 30 or 40,000, I think it's really been a therapeutic thing for me to learn that I need to be able to celebrate each and every one of those little victories in my own place, and I just feel like it's important to know that that is a step along the way. That is like an actual, that's a success. And I've been, hitting the pavement in New York for 10 years. And I still have a pulse. I'm alive. I've lived by doing music in New York City for 10 years, and I'm super grateful. I will continue to hit the pavement and continue to find avenues. But the fact that I do music full time and for a living, it keeps me very, creative, and it keeps me very, just always trying to find the next avenue that I could go down, and I feel like I need that. I need that energy, So that's really
I will say this, man. I got, again, the opportunity to see you in action with your brother. And I agree, your energy with the 30 people, maybe 50 people that were there when I had the opportunity to see you in this, it was a smaller location and place we were packed. And you had the energy, whether you're playing in front of 60,000 people at Hyde Park or 60 people in Western New York on Main Street in Williamsville. Your energy, you were in the moment, and I appreciate that as a musician, because I know that moment of playing the same for 3 people, 3 drunk dudes at a bar, or I didn't have the opportunity at Hyde Park, but a couple like those Labatt Blues style concerts of 1,000, 2,000 people in Buffalo.
Yeah, but when your band played to a packed Nietzsche's, that feeling, right?
It's such a great, and that's the thing. It's the connect. That's what I love about music, is it's a live performance that connects people, and also music's a universal language. You have a cool song with RYNO that actually I want to talk about, and it has that universal language as a theme. But people, they can be living in any country. Now with the internet, they can be literally anywhere in the world, and they can connect to your music and the way it makes them feel. You can have 100 people listen to one song and it can make 100 people feel differently. I think that's magic. It's similar to visual art. You look at it. What does this mean to you? Everybody can have a different answer. Let's talk about RYNO, my man. You've gone viral multiple times, videos with 100,000 plus views on YouTube. I mentioned the 900,000 streams on Spotify at the top of the show. And it's, what I have a question on this from my digital marketing brain, right? Was this, magic that happened kind of organic, or do you have kind of like a science experiencing what, you put something out, it might get 500 hits, and you put another thing out, it gets 500,000. Have you figured out the math on it and what makes this go viral?
I mean, there's wizards out there, for sure. But as far as like the success for RYNO, it's Spotify it's almost like in ways has that good and bad, good and evil type of vibe with the music industry, the way that people have with like the talent shows. It's like there's the good and the bad. Spotify has been the tool, like it has been everything for the success rate of what I've done with RYNO. Honestly, like a handful of playlists will lead to a handful more playlists. And it's like with our track Glory, it literally got picked up by a couple editorial lists, and it just shot 1 million plus streams, and it's now at like 1.2 million streams. And
is that the song that has the is Glory? I know I watched a ton of your videos and just saw
Glory is like Glory was like this introduction in for me into like this a little bit more of this electronic land with it was a collaboration with Mega Music, which is a New York producer who he and I have done a lot of music together. He's a super talented musician, producer, trumpet player. Joel Gonzalez is a really fantastic dude. But he and I were like, we had this New Year's resolution in 2017 together, where we just decided we're going to do 2 productions. So two master records each month. And Glory was the first one we did together. We're like, all right, like the idea was like, let's just record like literally like by the end of the year we'll have like 20 plus new records, like not just like demos on our phone. Like I'm writing lyrics, melodies on an acoustic guitar or piano, and I'd send him the vocal stem and the piano. He would flip it and turn it into a record. It was super fun. Like it was like, and we were doing it all remote. Again, like this is just. So it was all like remote. It was a really fun process that we stuck with, and like we actually have now a bunch of backlog records that we've been toying with the idea of trying to just putting them out as an EP together. But Glory got picked up by a handful of playlists that led to other playlists. At one point, it was literally on 1,300 different playlists. I remember looking at the Spotify analytics. I'm like, oh damn, it literally was like on 1,300 different playlists. And so like, and it just, I mean, that's been how we've opened doors with that, and like the traction of that with some success on YouTube. Again, we're not breaking numbers. Like we're like, it's a few 100,000 streams that gets a little bit of attention. And that opens the doors with, for instance, like my song that I'm still like really like swinging the bat for at the moment is called Who We Are. It's a song that, because of the the traction that my song Stars in the Sky and then Glory, they kind of followed each other up in like the Scandinavian region. There was a team, a label that I've been doing some like kind of one-off work with in Copenhagen, and I was over doing work over there, again kind of following up with something else. But regardless, I was there, and I was able to kind of get in a couple of writing sessions with this label. They brought me in, and me and this young kid, like we've been still to this day through the quarantine have been making music together, which is amazing. Like again, all remotely. Like I'll send him a vocal and he just loves it, or he'll send me a production. I'll top line to it, and it's been really cool. So like the whole operation with RYNO, that I built that platform because I needed a totally like just to be a free platform where I could put out whatever it is that I'm feeling. It's tough when you have a band because there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen, and there's there's a lot of a lot of personality and a lot of like this, and like as I said, Todd and I fight every day. I'm sure we're due in about an hour here, so I'll let you know what happens. But we butt heads a ton, but we know that when we're creating music together, that's really special. So I just needed RYNO to be that platform. I didn't really anticipate for that to become as much of a live entity as it was. As I said, like I spent a lot of last year in Europe, like kind of trying to seek out these opportunities because there was, there was some traction. So it's like, again, and it's not like, we're not like breaking chart traffic, but it's like, okay, enough traction that I could get into this writing session.
That's
enough
when you kind of turn
into,
you turn into the scientist. I can see you're like a mad scientist with that, like with different elements.
It's interesting, man. Like, and I feel like there's like, there's ways of kind of like, of trying to like, when something does like, there's a bunch of like shoddy like playlisters now, and they'll promote, oh, we'll get your music on a playlist and they'll charge you out, I didn't have anything like that on Glory until after it had been picked up by a couple of editorial playlists. It got picked up by a couple of editorial playlists, and I'm like, I've got to continue this. So then like I had like a team helping me like say, hey, this is on this playlist, this is on that. Like they basically helped put the dots together. And that's like, that's really like, it's running with like the momentum. It's running with the momentum. So like, it wasn't a matter of just like, oh, here, I'll click this button and it will be, tomorrow will be viral. It's like, no, it's like, when you have something, you need to run with it. You need to push with the momentum. So like, it's been an interesting and learning curve, but like, I continue to like have that platform, RYNO, because I've got so much music like in me that I need to share. I've been on this big kick, and I think it's like that natural, like 15-year evolution or 20-year evolution, even like where it's like, everybody's listening to Nirvana again. I started my very first band before More Than Me, many years before More Than Me, even I was in 6th grade, and we were in a Nirvana cover band. And like, it's funny because like I've actually gone back and actually spun the Unplugged record.
Can I guess what your name was?
We weren't exclusive. It wasn't exclusive to Nirvana. Like we would mix in like a Bush song once in a while. So like we were trying not to be like a specific Nirvana cover band, but those were the only songs we could play in 6th grade. So the band was actually called Impulse.
Impulse.
And, which I think, I can't remember if I think my mom named the band.
There you go.
If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure she did.
That was your number. That was your number one skill. You guys just all acted on impulse, right?
Right, totally. So it's funny because like I feel like the evolution of that full circle. I started writing on an acoustic guitar many years ago, 20 years ago, and like I'm actually so inspired by that right now. It's inspired me to like start a new cover series where I'm playing acoustic, and it's inspired me to like start doing acoustic renditions of these songs that like. Like I've been really like, I like to continually expand like productions and stuff that I listen to and stuff that I really like enjoy. And I've been like kind of doing a deep dive over the last 3 or 4 years into this like electronic European scene that like exists there in a big way that doesn't exist as big here. It's obviously a thing. It's crossed over into pop music now at this point, but ultimately like I've been on such a deep dive over the last couple of years that I'm a little exhausted with that. It's completely like frank with you. Like there's nothing that I've listened to in that genre over the last year that has inspired me, but I've been so much more inspired to pick up the acoustic guitar and just like write a song and like a melody and a lyric and just let that breathe. And I posted the first thing that I kind of had done that with, which was my song Who We Are. I did an acoustic version of that, and that got picked up by an editorial list on Spotify. 100% organically, it picked up almost 500,000 streams. Which
also it's was it the name of the magazine too is Music with a Z, and then it's IQUE, right? You were featured on Music magazine recently.
Recently they did a write-up, a release. So I had a little passion. That's actually, aside from Who We Are, there's this 3-song EP that had kind of been burning away at me, and it was on, some of these demos were on the hard drive. And like when we started this whole quarantine, like I was like, I need to finish these records. Like they were just, the lyric and the vulnerability in the songs and like were really resonating with stuff that I'm going through personally. And like I needed to share that. So it was a really fun process. And actually I ended up I wrote the tunes with my good buddy from Toronto, Brent Bojuk, who's a really great guy and a great producer. He's been a friend for many, many years. And I just needed to share them. And I did that, and Music Magazine actually did a feature on it. So that was cool. And like, honestly, it's nice because again, like the RYNO platform has been just like for me to share that. And that was kind of radically different. It was kind of like these like sparse little sonic-y, like 808 drums, but also like organic piano. Like we cut organic piano on those records. And it was like the song started on piano and a vocal, which I love, writing in that fashion. I'm not great at piano,
Mhm.
Hence the reason I said before I quit at way too young of an age, and I put myself back into lessons later in life. But like I love having that platform. It's really healthy for me to have that platform.
Yeah.
Because I want to be able to like just share the music that is just whatever is like inspiring me at the time. And I've got this like slew of acoustic records that I've been working on because I've just been really into that. So it's cool, man. Like there's no timeline, there's no judgments. There's, at the end of the day, it's just therapeutic for me to have.
Beautiful. You guys can check it out at RYNO Music NYC. Again, it's RYNO Music NYC is his Instagram handle. You guys check him out there. You can follow RYNO on YouTube. That's where I was tuning into a lot of your material. Right here, I'm going to take the opportunity to play a song by RYNO. What song would you like me to highlight right here for you?
Man, we've talked a lot about Who We Are. The full production of Who We Are has been a really special record, and the organic place that came from being in Copenhagen, this very foreign town, like a beautiful, beautiful city. I got a chance to like write this with a producer named Hydrate. That he's a great dude. Andreas is like a fantastic kid. I say kid because he's like 20 or 21, really, like just getting started. But like I was super inspired by his productions, and he speaks broken English, and it was just him and I in the room, and it was super cool because I would, basically like he would play me like a piano part, and I'd sing, and he would just get this big smile, and like we were like, the whole inspiration of the lyric came from just the positive body language, because again, with the language barrier, I would sing something and he would just like, I would see him kind of catch. And it was a really fun experience. It was the first time I'd ever written, a record with somebody that like was, again, broken English. It was so cool. And just the positive, body language aspect of that was so inspiring for me. So I'm really proud of that record. And it's like, that's a record that's just still just resonating with me every day and every morning. So I'd love to share that.
Let's play it right here. Who We Are, right?
Yep.
Who We Are by RYNO.
I'm out here alone, and I think to myself how far we have come, and how far we have to go. But what I know, your body will show me somehow. I'm out here alone, but you're letting me know we don't need to hesitate, don't need words to communicate. Time for us to appreciate who we are. We gotta be who we are, who we are. Don't need words to communicate who we are. We gotta be who we are, who we are. Time for us to appreciate who we are. Unlock the door, say everything to me with the look of your eyes. Then you smile, that's free. And what I know, your body will show me somehow. I'm out here alone, but you're letting me know we don't need to hesitate, don't need words to communicate. Time for us to appreciate who we are. We gotta be who we are, who we are. Don't need words to communicate who we are. We gotta be who we are, who we are. Time for us to appreciate who we are. Feel my image, feel my image, feel my
right, guys, that was Who We Are by RYNO. Again, you can check him out at RYNO Music NYC on Instagram. Check him out on YouTube. Again, we're here with Ryan Jacob Doyle, one half of the Doyle Brothers as well, as you guys are experiencing also on Nickel City Noise. We got to give a shout out, though, to a mutual friend, Robert Omega Red Grant. He's actually another connection that you've partnered with or you've worked on a couple tunes with, right?
Yeah, man. We have fun together, man. It's been funny because like we cut this track Wine and Spirits a couple years ago, and I come back to it a lot because like it's a different vibe for my voice, and I think he's got a fantastic talent. I mean, his abilities and I see, but like just like he's a hustler too. I mean, like he always, you know, his game is hustle. So like he moves, he shakes, the dude is like always moving, and I appreciate that, and I learned from that. I think Robert's a really, really positive vibe that he captures himself with. So I'm grateful to continue making records with him. I think we just finished another one that he's gonna be putting on his next record that I think is a banger, man. Like he's got some bangers in the pipeline. So I hope that the world hears these. But he's a straight dude. Like he's a real solid.
When I interviewed Robert and I mentioned your name, like he just lit up. He's like, oh, I know that's my dude. You know, that's my dude. That he mentioned the song, and then
he's solid, man. He's solid people.
Yeah, I listened to Wine and Spirits when I was preparing for his interview.
I love that jam. And, I come back there and I'm like, how has this not been heard by people? I'm like, this is legit. Like it's really good.
Yeah.
Like there's obviously sea of talent, but he's moving and shaking, man. I hope that his platform shares those songs, and I do what I can. Those are right up on my Spotify as well. Like literally, like I co-write with a lot of artists and I co-write with friends and stuff like that. But I was like, that's such a different vibe for me that I'm like, I made a point to like make sure that that it's featured on my Spotify page, so people are like, they can hear that different side of me. So like that's actually currently up on my Spotify page as well. You can check out the Wine and Spirits track. I did another one called Digital Dope Game on his last album, and we got a banger that's gonna be coming out in the new year, I think.
So. Awesome.
Yeah.
I do want to wrap up talking about a song that I saw. I watched the music video, and the thing blew up. And it was in different languages. Can you just share what that was all about? Is that Glory, or was that a different song?
No, it's actually Stars in the Sky. Glory ended up like getting life on Spotify with a couple of editorialists, but Stars in the Sky was a really fun like project to kind of dive into. And truthfully, Stars in the Sky helped me kind of draw the vision for my project RYNO. It was a song that I wrote with my brother and our buddy Adam. We were trying, and we had been writing original music for the Doyle Brothers, and like we've got original content with the Doyle Brothers, and I love those records, and I'm like I'm very happy with them. We realized that the special part of the Doyle Brothers is really in the performance, as opposed to like the making records together, which like that's a whole other avenue, another conversation. But ultimately, like, we wrote the hook to Stars in the Sky, and we're like, oh, okay, all right. And it had just like, the Four to the Floor, the Pulse. And like, it just was like, 2015 when this like electronic wave was coming on over rock bands and stuff. It was like kind of an interesting time. And like, I was like, guys, I'm going to put this record out, because we were just like, actually, there's a really cool opportunity that my brother had at that moment. He was touring as drummer for Rusted Root. So I don't know if you knew that. Like, so Todd actually like was on tour with Rusted Root, and I was like,
I think I do remember hearing that. You guys have so many
I was like,
things
again, like it's an amazing story, like that he was able to do for a few months. He's still friends with the guys, and he was filling in on drums for them. So it's like, so I like had a few months down where I was like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go after this, like, just like this solo vision. So Stars in the Sky was like, and like it kind of like helped me get that vision through. The lyric video came about because I was like, I need some sort of content to share, something that shows, something that keeps the vision united, something that keeps people like realizing that it's bigger than us. You know what I mean? Like this vibe that's like this tying together is it's more important. And I was using hashtag pervade positivity through that whole campaign that I was promoting that song. I continue to, because I believe in that. The multilingual idea came from my ex-wife Jen, who she was just like, that would be such a beautiful way of sharing, the languages, crossing the world like that. So it was a really a beautiful campaign that kind of we got to push forward with that, and it did resonate. It continues to resonate. I continue to share that. I actually just revisited watching that like at the beginning of all of this.
Yeah.
And it was it was a really special thing. So like, and I'm glad that it was able to pick up some traction, and that song is the one that kind of like got me in the door with the team in Scandinavia that I've been working with. So it's really that's been a really special song. That has been sort of the theme song, I guess, to my project RYNO so far. So yeah.
Well, we're gonna listen to it, guys. Here it is, "Stars in the Sky" by RYNO.
We all learn to live from the first breath we take. We don't think twice from then. It's the patterns from a first day. We all pass one day. In the night sky will leave a mark. Those with truth will pervade. The fake will only be a spark. We all lose and we win, and it changes in a blink of an eye. But the truth is within. The love in every one of us. The love in every one of us. The love in every one of us. I'm yours, you're mine. We go together like stars in the sky. We shine so bright. I'm yours, you're mine. We go together like stars in the sky. We shine so bright. Together we can rule the world. In the fall, autumn weather, rain showers all the sky. Once the clouds have faded, stars seem to magnify. We all lose and we win, and it changes in a blink of an eye. But the truth is within. The love in every one of us. The love in every one of us. The love in every one of us. I'm yours, you're mine. We go together
guys, that was Stars in the Sky by RYNO. Again, I'm here with Ryan Jacob Doyle. Ryan, this interview has been awesome. We're definitely going overtime, which is fine. We're getting a little bonus material here today.
Man. I appreciate having me, man. It's been fun.
The beauty of having your own show is I get to call the shots. Nobody told me.
Yeah, right. That's like, with Nickel City Noise, it's the same thing.
There's zero commercial breaks, right?
Right.
I can do whatever I want to do. That's what I love about podcasting. I'm the producer of the show, right?
That's exactly what we're saying with Nickel City Noise. We're like, maybe it'll be an hour, maybe it'll be an hour and a half.
Yeah. Nickel City Noise, so excited about that. When you guys are watching and listening to this full interview, it already happened. 2 episodes. What's awesome about live feed is that you can go back and you can watch the replay. You can do that by going to the Doyle Brothers on Facebook and just check out their page. You can watch episodes 1 and 2 of Nickel City Noise, where they're covering great tunes and putting their own spin on it with the Doyle Brothers. Anything you want to share about Nickel City Noise?
Yeah, just as we were talking before, man, we're just trying to like spin the wheels at the hair different. This episode 2, we were fortunate to be able to get you on as our feature. So make sure you log in and check out the mic'd up feature. Also, we've got, the cool thing is we're trying to do like a musical guest. So we've got our buddies from Ohio. They're sending us, they're sending us a feed from Ohio. They're cutting a song, which is really cool. We're trying out a sports segment for episode 2. We're going to see how that kind of like gears up. It's like, we're just trying to like have fun with it and like keep it crossing and like with all these different platforms that we've been able to cross promote with. So like Anderson's Frozen Custard is sharing it on all their platforms. And like this week we've got the Glen Park Tavern in Williamsville sharing it. We've got Thirsty Buffalo downtown in Elmwood sharing it. The Elmwood Village Association is actually sharing it as well. And there's a whole laundry list of just like partners that have been great to us so far. And we've just been just trying it again, share a little bit of joy while all of us are, stuck inside on a Saturday night, so we're just trying to make sure that people are keeping a slice of positivity in their day. So, and the sunshine ain't hurting that. So that's a nice thing. But it's been fun. And like, we'll continue to just see how it can organically grow. Awesome, man. Are you ready for lightning round? Yeah, shoot. You got a little lightning bolt on your shirt. I think you came prepared. I do. Look at this. All right, we're going to fly through it. Number 1, your favorite song to cover? Currently, Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic by The Police. The Police. One of my favorite songs of all time. Love it, man. Favorite original that you personally wrote? Mama Said is a song that's the song that sent us to London, and the song that we continue to play, and it's close to our gang, Mama Said? Yeah. Awesome, brother. One new skill or positive takeaway from the quarantine? Taking a deep breath and just realizing what's important. It's been such a chaotic time for everybody, and it's been, again, my heart breaks for everybody that's been down in New York through this whole process. I was very fortunate to get back to Buffalo. Spend the last couple of months at my brother's house, and it's been a blessing. So deep breaths and just realizing really what the big picture is and what's most important. Absolutely, man. It's important to take that deep breath, reflect, and appreciate. And you spend time with your niece, right? Yeah. For me, it's like I'm not like going out, like doing like a slow jog has always been very therapeutic to me. I've always really enjoyed that. That's like kind of my decompressing time. And just every day, like my brother lives across from a path that I've been just hitting every day for an hour or so. And like, I love that. And that's just like, that's my time to take a deep breath and just to realize that I'm just very fortunate to have a loving family, have, good people in my life and good friends. And it's really important. I feel like I was just even talking to my mom this morning about it. Like, she got a phone call from like a friend that they don't get to talk to every day, but she's like, this is nice because like, we actually, you genuinely are calling to check in on these on people that you care about. You want everyone to be healthy and safe, but it's like having the second to like take a deep breath and just like, I need to call these folks. Like that's been a really, I think, beautiful thing in the midst of this chaos. So that's definitely something I've taken out. Who is your biggest influence? It could be either personally or an artist. My dad. Yeah. He, he's just always got a good grip on things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's fun. I mean, he's funny as all get out. He's like kind of like the guy that you want to be like have it ear a little closer because like he'll have like commentary about what's going on in the room. And like, but you think it's like that silent, you know, but he's got such a good grip and he's just done such a good job working his butt off to raise our family. And, you know, him and my mom, like, you know, obviously teaming that, but just the way he's calm and collect has been inspiring to me my whole life.
Yeah. He's got it together. Even in adversity, he's going to be.
Yeah. And God bless my mom for having it together too, raising us four. Because God, I can't even imagine, bro. Yeah. I've got two right now, and I just see him like pulling his hair out every single day, and then like he'll call and talk to my mom on FaceTime, and like it's so funny. Like it's funny, but yeah, like whatever. But God bless all of them.
What's your favorite place to go for inspirational content? Is it books, podcasts? What can, if you're going to share something with us to tune into, where would you send us?
I do love, you know, I've gotten quite a bit into podcasts. There's one that I listen to religiously. It's called And the Writer Is. Cool. It's a pop songwriter named Ross Golan, who I do like where he's coming from with this podcast. The songwriting world is as political and as challenging as the artist world. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that makes sense, but like, if you know, like being an artist and like going after your artist vision is very political. It's very money driven. It's very corrupt. And not to paint a totally ugly picture, but the songwriting world is almost as political, if that makes sense. And I've gone after that world a lot, like, and just found myself in, you know, co-writes with people that have written massive records, and I'm really grateful to learn from them. But Ross has a really interesting point of view, and he has an insider's point of view because he co-writes massive pop records. Mm-hmm. So he, like, the community he talks about and how he converses with them very candidly is very interesting to me, because I feel like, you know, I learned so much from listening to that podcast. It's a cool podcast. I dig it. There's a handful of others that I've been listening to a lot, but that one for the last few years I've been really pretty into. And I also like look up to him because he's actually a playwright as well. He just put his first musical out. He's been working on it for something like 15 years. Yeah. He's like, you know, and he's like, I relate with this kid too, because like this kid, he's like, you know, older than me, but like I relate with him because he comes from a band world. Like he has toured for many years, and he kind of just like, he sang for a band and he got himself in the pop songwriting world. So like I relate with like his point of view from where he comes from, but I've also been I'm also a big fan of musical theater. And seeing him put out this passion project, it's called The Wrong Man. It's a really cool show. I actually covered one of the tunes on my YouTube page because I really enjoyed the show that much. I went and saw it on Off Broadway this past year, and like I really enjoyed it. But his podcast
is coming next now for yourself. You're going to be writing a musical.
Yeah.
That's about the only thing in your bio that you didn't do yet. So.
You know, man, like and that truly is like on the radar for me. I've been actually working on something for the last couple of years.
That would be cool.
But it's like, yeah, man, it's like that. I don't want to set a timeline on it because it's very much a passion project, but I do love the content that I have so far for it. The songs that are involved are like really special to me. I'm like really excited. A few songs that are actually like released as RYNO songs, like are actually involved in the storyline thus far. But there's some unreleased content that I'm really, really excited to share with people eventually that I've just started trickling out a little bit. Like I did a show in January at Rockwood Music Hall in New York, which is like a famous songwriter's room. It's like, there's like little rooms that like you put 20, 30 people, it's packed. And I actually gave a couple of the songs a test drive, which I'm really excited about. So yes, that is on the radar. I'm thinking I would probably be in more of a position to talk about it by like 2021. Like, you know, like
I'm not surprised by your reaction. I bring it up kind of half kidding, and I knew that there would be some legitimacy that you're actually thinking about it already.
Truthfully, like our dad really raised us in theater so much. So like I've had such an appreciation, and being in New York, like being able to like just at the drop of a hat, just like, oh, I'm going to go try to get a $20 rush ticket to a show. Like that's been such a cool experience.
Yeah. If you can be known for one thing, what would it be?
That's an interesting question. Being a good person.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome, bro. I think that's
because,
so
you know, like
all these cool things you're doing, but at the end of the day, people,
I'm grateful to be, you know, to have talent that I can share, but I mean, just being who I am and just being trying to be a good person.
This is I almost removed this question because I think about it for myself quite a bit, but I added it back in because I know you're able to handle it. So this one's kind of a little bit of a curveball, but what would your 10-year-old self think of you today?
Why aren't you playing for the Yankees?
Why aren't you playing for the Yankees? Really? Yeah, that was your dream, huh? 10-year-old. Yeah.
Watching baseball in the Bronx is still like it's breaking my heart that there's no baseball right now. And I'm not a buff, but I like love watching baseball. I love, like, it's just so it's therapeutic to me in ways. It's reminiscent. I love seeing baseball in the Bronx. I just grew up like obsessed.
Favorite player, favorite name?
Always Donnie Baseball.
Donnie, okay.
Yeah.
I agree. Don Mattingly.
Yeah, no doubt. He made me a first baseman, and you just like, you know, I was
Don Mattingly for Halloween like 3 years in a row because I owned a blue, like the Yankee T-shirt, and all I had to do was throw my Yankees hat on. My dad raised my brother and I as great Yankee fans. We knew the history of the team, so I'm like, I want to get some candy. Throw on the T-shirt, put my Yankees hat on, hit the neighborhood up, and we're good. Donnie Baseball, here I come.
Donnie Baseball, I love it. That's great.
Dude, we got some more in common. We definitely
get
up a Yankees game soon.
Dude, I hope we can, man. I hope we can.
One message that you can deliver to our audience to inspire them to be brave and bold in pursuit of their dreams. An interesting conversation that I've had recently that made me think about like the inspiration behind the song Mama Said we wrote. That's, you know, the one that we won that contest with. Pay attention and listen to your elders because they've experienced so much of this. The lyric of that song and the feeling of that lyric came from a conversation I had with my grandmother. Mm-hmm. We called her Golden Grams. That was my dad's mom. Every year, actually, for my whole childhood, like we would get to spend a couple of weeks together at the beach down in Myrtle Beach every year for Easter. So and you know, I just built like a nice relationship with her. She passed, you know, years back now, but I was going through a bad breakup at the time, and just the conversation of she was so matter of fact. She just had such a good head on her shoulders about these things that are like, and it's the end of the world, you know, but like, she's like, no, really, like, it's, you know, you're gonna be good. And like, I feel like, you know, I have such an appreciation for that. I always feel like I have, but like that conversation with like my Golden Grams, but like I brought up like Jerry Myers earlier. It's like, I am so inspired by like the conversations I have with him because he gets shit that I don't. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that is something that we need to pay attention to. Like, you know, our parents, our you know, the friends of the family, whoever it is, like, you know, they've seen some shit, man. Pay attention. Yeah. It's mentorship to a certain degree too. It's mentorship.
Totally.
Are you saying Golden Graham?
Golden Grams, we call her, yeah.
Golden Grams. That's awesome, man. Shout out in honor. Cheers to Golden Grams, man.
Yeah, cheers. I'm using Todd's wife's Mama Bear mug.
I got my favorite beverage here. My two favorite beverages, H2O and coffee. That's about as crazy as I get, folks.
I'm with you.
Last question here. We made it all the way through about an hour and a half of content, and I don't think I'm editing anything out. This is awesome. And you mentioned the word gratitude a few times, grateful, and actually my sign off is be great and be grateful. What are three things that you are most grateful for?
My family, my health, and my music.
Yeah. Awesome, brother.
You know, those are very general, but they're like,
that's the core.
And they all run together because, you know, with mental health and physical health, comes from my, the ability to be able to have a loving, ability to make music and have a loving family.
I love it. Anything else you'd like to share with our audience before we sign off here?
No, man, I just really appreciate you having me on, man. You're a great hustler, and I appreciate that, we become friends.
Yeah, likewise. We're going to catch a Yankees game. I'm going to come to you do some more Doyle Brothers once we can get back to the bars here in Buffalo. Nickel City Noise, I'm honored to be part of episode 2. And episode 3, 4, 5, I'll be tuning in as long as they go. I personally think you should keep them going even when quarantine is over, because
we want to see if we would like to continue it.
Maybe not every show is going to be a live broadcast, but have those special moments. I think that's a cool idea. Message I just wanted to share with the audience about Ryan, and the reason I wanted him on the show, not only is he an amazing talent and a friend, but aside from that, right? Because that, I can really fill the show up with a lot of talented people. But what I really like about him, he mentioned that I'm a hustler, but I noticed the second that this hit, there's a lot of musicians, and rightfully so, that just kind of got knocked off their feet. They had spring and summer booked, and then they're told every penny that you thought you were making, you're not, and now you're living, in quarantine. So you could easily roll down and say, woe is me, game over for a while, I'm going to tune out. And Ryan and his brother Todd and his friend Mark started the show, Nickel City Noise, and said, we're going to figure out a way to still connect with our audience. We want to deliver. And I know it's just like you're not someone that sits still for very long. Like you need to be creating to feel that you are giving the world and the universe what they when you were born, there was a purpose for you, and you're purpose driven. That's what the show is all about. That's why I asked that question about, if you can inspire someone to be brave and bold in pursuit of their dreams. You're doing it through your actions. That's why you're on the show. And I'm grateful for you being here, man.
Thanks so much, man.
Hey guys, super excited to announce that Mike's Warriors LLS fundraiser is now live. The button is active on Facebook. You'll see that when I'm posting, that you'll be able to click on the Donate Now button. It's also active on my website as well. So if you guys are able to do that, I want to thank you ahead of time for participating and helping out a greater cause. I do want to be mindful, obviously, through coronavirus. Some of us have been compromised in our health. We have a family member or friend that we know that's battling through that right now. Some of us have either lost our jobs or have been working in conditions that we're not used to. So maybe we lost clients due to this because they had to close their doors. Whatever it might be, I just want you to know that I am mindful of the current situation going on. And I completely respect if you're unable to donate at this time, or maybe you're hesitant to do that. All I ask in that situation, if you're not able to personally give, is if you can share this with your friends and family. Literally share it through social media, or just at the dinner table talk about it. Hey, Mike's doing something for Leukemia Lymphoma Society, and you can get that information in front of more people. That right there is a tremendous help, and I'm grateful for you doing that. If you're able to give a little bit, maybe half of what you were able to do before, whatever it is, we're grateful for it. We can do this $1 at a time. We're going 10 weeks here. The kickoff call last night, there was just so much energy on it that people are overcoming some of the adversity that we're dealing with, and we're helping each other out. And I just see the energy that people have behind Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, and also myeloma as well. Did you guys know that 40% of kids that are battling cancer, it's a blood-related cancer? And of those children, right now, if they're in a hospital, they're having limitations, and some not even able to see their parents. I can't even imagine being in that situation. My heart goes out to all the families that are impacted by any cancer, especially blood-related cancers right now, as this campaign is live. So I'm thanking you ahead of time for donating. Anything you can do, $25, $50, $100. If it's more than that, seriously, appreciate everything that you guys are doing to help me. Again, if you donate, also share it. If you're unable to donate, please share this. Extremely thankful for you listening right now, giving me your attention for a couple minutes here. You guys can check out more show notes and information on each episode at mikeduppodcast.com. MIKED uppodcast.com. We're powered by Social Chameleon. You guys know what to do. Be great and be grateful.